bearing of what I think about it. And I have to stick to what I think about it, because if I don't, I lose sight of it.
It might be off base, but maybe perhaps you're a bit too genuine a person.
Real.
Yeah, you know, versus these.
I like me.
No, right there.
You know, I like me. I didn't always, and I think that was because I was looking at somebody else's point of view, and I was afraid of being judged and criticized, and I was thinking that you know, like someone else's opinion had no value.
Sure.
I saw Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, and I was incredibly impressed because I could not find Daniel in the acting. I couldn't see him. And I say that I just found out yesterday that you in fact were Shani. You did that with Shani, I understand, did you?
Oh yeah, Shawnee. Yeah.
Shani, pardon me.
Yeah.
This is the first time I knew it. When I've seen you many times, I totally forgot.
Had a long career, and I wondered if there's a particular project that was special to you or that you really enjoyed, and if there was, why?
I really loved Vancouver in 1988 when we made Cousins with Ted Danson and Billy Peterson and Isabella, and it was 3 months of just lots of fun with no actor, not one, having any baggage. The director, nobody had any baggage, and that was like, whew. And so we just came to work and we had the best time. And we had lots of laughs, and we got our work done. We went back to the hotel. We'd meet up. We'd go out to dinner. We'd do it all over again, and it was just a real fun, pleasant experience. And then when you saw the movie, it was actually pretty good. You know, the movie actually turned out good too. Sometimes you can have that kind of experience on a movie, but the movie's rotten, and you go, oh, you know. And that actually happens sometimes in comedies, like. Young Doctors in Love. Not a very good movie, but we had a great time. I mean, we had so much fun, and yet, like Stripes, really funny movie, but we had to kind of hunker down. I mean, it was cold, and we had to figure out what was funny. You know, always on the move. Bill Murray was always throwing everything out, and that was like my first movie. Half of my dialogue ended up on the floor and never was found again because I wasn't fast enough to come up with the dialogue. I couldn't think that fast at that point. I had no experience in coming up with something quickly. So a lot of times with a comedy, you can't have too much fun if you want a good product. You have to kind of suffer a little bit to actually get it to be good, because if you're having too much fun, you leave it there instead of where it needs to be, which is in the actual movie. So, and dramas, you know, will have a different kind of, you know, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You know, like, I mean, I don't find that as much now. Like, I don't have a real strong desire to do dramatic stuff, but I find drama easy because there's, you know, as Richard Lewis would say, he's the king of pain. I'm like the queen of pain. You know, it's like I can feel, and I can bring my pain with me, and I don't have much trouble, you know, doing a drama. But I much prefer now to focus on comedy because I want to laugh more. You know, I want to uplift more. So the best experiences for me have been the ones where everyone's gotten along and everyone's shown respect for each other, you know, and nobody's dumped their shit on you, you know, and or vice versa. You haven't lost it and gone, if you do that again, I'm gonna kill you, you know. It's like, you know, where everybody's very respectful of one another are the best experiences.
Well, that's number one.
Oh, Jim's one of the funniest guys ever. And yet he's not, I mean, he can be very over the top, but he's not off the wall, you know? I mean, like, he does come down to earth, and he's very generous, too, because he'll, like, tell you a joke, and then you'll hear him go off into the other set, and then he'll do the same joke for the, like, people over there, and then you can hear another laugh down the way, and he's done the joke 5 times. Once he's done it once, he wants everybody to laugh at it, you know? So he's a real down-to-earth guy, and I enjoy working with him a lot.
Yeah, yes.
I want to go back to Blade Runner. On one level, it's a really simple detective story, but on another level, you know, it's a story about human trafficking or slavery, or, you know, when the replicants malfunction, they're destroyed, but they're people, and they want what you and I want. They want to just live their lives. Do you think that story and that movie still speaks to us today?
I'm trying to think of this movie I saw recently. A lot of times the titles. It's the Japanese girl, and it just came out.
The Cloud Atlas?
Yes, that's it. Yes, that's it. I
I've
saw
seen it.
Cloud Atlas,
Excellent.
and it has a little bit of scene in there. I mean, the movie. My son and I went to see Cloud Atlas, and it reminded me a little bit of Blade Runner, only not at all in some ways also, but just the idea that human deception or human. I actually have an opinion about this, but I'm trying to find the right way to express it, which is. I guess the best way I can express it, yeah, I do think that movie had something to do with that topic of undervaluing what it is to be human. But it's also something that I think is what we're living in modern society. I think we are living in a society where we are being taught to be little robots, that we're in front of our computers, our relationship with our computers and our TVs and our technology. When we had the storm, Sandy, in New York, I was without power for 6 days. My son laid in bed and read the entire book, Cloud Atlas, and I laid in bed and read the book Shantaram. It was a 900-page book. Best week of our life, you know, it was the best. We were just laying in bed and we were just reading, and then when the sun would go down, we'd like light a fire and we would talk, you know. And I thought, damn, this was great. This storm was great because it brought people together, and it let me and my son have a conversation. He never reads. He's always on that computer or with the game, and it drives me insane. And I've threatened him a couple times, you know, but that's where we are right now. We are in a cancer. We are living in a cancer, a consciousness that thinks that what we think and who we are is of little value, and yet each of us as a person, we are alive. We are a living person, you know, and so it's very hard to walk around the world sometimes, at least for me, and look around at people being asleep and unaware of their own importance, and also the way people treat each other so disrespectfully, you know? I mean, just 3 minutes waiting too long in a line and people get like acid. I'm like, what else have you got to do? I mean, what's so important that you're so nasty now? You know, like what are you doing? You know? So I mean, it's a big topic, just where we are in human civilization and trying to get back to a place of humility and a place of respect for each other. We're not being taught that. That's not what we're being fed.
What was your son's take on that? Did he really enjoy it as well, that chance to read and just...
He did, and when we went to see the movie Cloud Atlas, he gave me this big long dissertation about how the book was better than the movie. You know, and I thought, yeah, you know, like he would never have done that if he had the storm and had a chance to read the book, you know. And I think it affected him because now he's asking for more books, you know. So I think the whole concept of unplugging, I think it scares modern people to think about unplugging. You know, it's like, oh, what do I do if I'm unplugged? But you know, maybe it isn't as scary as you might think. You know, maybe we should unplug once a week. You know, like just unplug all that stuff and just say,
Your son is at the school that you attended?
No, my older boy.
Okay.
My younger boy's at school. My older boy's in his senior year, so he's with me.
All right.
And and he read Cloud Atlas.
It's a good lesson, though. I mean, Too bad it took a hurricane.
Well,
to
you know,
read
though,
that.
but what else would it take?
Yeah, well,
You know, I mean, that's the whole point, is that when we have earthquakes and
Sure.
storms and tragedy and crises, that's when people actually
they're
show
forced to
up.
stop.
Yeah, they show up. My neighbor came over and helped me. We all helped each other, you know, and it was like, it's like, why don't we do that, like, you know, like all the time? Because we're fed this, you know, I mean, it's like, you know,
Let's see. Keep going, great, yes, sir.
What did you think of Cloud Atlas, the film?
it didn't bother me any. It didn't bother me. The part that affected me the most was the Japanese girl in the Japanese section when she discovers that ascension means that she's actually killed, and then they put those hooks through their ankles, and then they cart them off. It's like a Soylent Green kind of thing. And then the English actor who signs into a hotel and thinks that he's signing into a hotel, and then it turns out to be like an insane asylum or an old person's lockdown or something. And so there were images in it that were interesting. It didn't flow good, in my opinion. Like, you'd be over here, and then you'd be over here, and then you'd be over here, and then you'd be, and I was like, I don't get this. I mean, I sort of got it, but, you know, it didn't flow very well, and it didn't, but I did like the Japanese girl in it. She was very touching, and that had a lot to do with that Blade Runner thing, which is a manufactured person. You know, what makes you a human being? If you're manufactured or you're born, does it really matter if you're still equipped with feelings? You know, what's the difference?
Yes,
Are you allowed to keep any of the scripts of the movies that you've made, or should you keep anything from
I
the
keep-
movies?
I have I keep one thing of everything that I do, and I put it in a box and then never look at it again.
Oh. What did you keep from Ace Ventura, if I might ask?
My script.
Your script,
And
yeah.
pictures. I always take a lot of pictures. Plus, I have a YouTube channel. It's called MSY Pariah, and it's got a video that I made of the making of Ace Ventura. And there's a making of Dune. And I have almost 300 hours of Super 8 16mm video that I still sort of edit, and I have so much of it, but I just haven't gotten to it yet, you know.
What was your favorite?
Well, my son's births.
Of course, as a parent.
Both are
Yeah, you know, but I won't be releasing that.
That's not on YouTube, no?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not on YouTube. But, well, there's one little teeny section of me in the hospital in a video called Central Park, where Quinn's born. But he's all covered up and I'm all covered up, and it's just right when he gets there, which is pretty sweet. But it's just one little teeny clip. So.
You don't look at your previous work sometimes when you're trying to figure out how to approach a new project? You know, like go back.
You know, I made Dune and didn't actually ever see the movie until 18 years later. I finally saw it 18 years later. And there's quite a few of like some of the movies that I did strictly for money I've never seen. Just because I knew when we made them that they weren't very good, and I didn't really want to see them because I was just like, ugh. You know, there's a movie I did, I've never seen it. I saw the first 4 minutes of it and I went, oh, I'm gonna be sick. And never went to see it. But in addition to that though, I was very grateful that I was offered the movie and I was able to make money and was able to make a living. And you know, not every movie is as good as every other movie, but I try to be as good in any movie that I'm in, regardless of what level of movie it is. And I'm always very grateful that since I was 19, and I'm 52 now, that I've done nothing but be an actress. So that to me is quite something, you know, that I've made a living at it and was able to do it and was able to, you know, carry on and provide for my family. I wouldn't have done something like, you know, Rehab. I wouldn't have done that show if they hadn't asked me for 5 years. They paid me so much money for it. And finally, I called up Billy Zane and I said, I shouldn't do this, should I? And he said, well, is anyone hiring you now? And have they? And I said, well, you're right about that, you know. And he said, do it. It doesn't matter, you know. And so I did it. But it's reality TV is not fun. You know, you only do it for the money. At least that's my opinion. You only do reality TV for the money. There's no other good reason to do it, as far as I know. It's not artistically satisfying, and although I did a good job at any show that I was on, at least I think I did. And you know, so I'd like to get back to, actually what I'd really like to do is I'd like to do stage. I think I'd be real good at it. I've only done one stage show once, and that was in 1992 in LA, and I loved it. And I think I'd make a good life performer. You know, I think I'm kind of bigger in person actually than on screen in a way. I think I look better in person. I think I'm not as photogenic as people might imagine. You know, there's other people that are much more photogenic than I am, like Uma Thurman or even Madonna. I mean, in person they look very strange, and yet on screen they look great. And you're like, shit, you know, how does that work? You know, it's like strange. You know, Uma's eyes are like frogs. You know, they're almost like Michael Caine's eyes. I mean, Michael has and Uma have almost the same kind of eyes, which is that they kind of stick out a little bit, and they don't look that way on screen. You know what I mean? They're transformed somehow. So it's very interesting to see what kind of direction I'll end up going in, and I hope it's a lot more live theater. That's what I'm aiming at, hoping to do.
Why do you want to New York?
Yeah, yeah.
I have a bit of a senior moment in remembering one of your greatest movies to make. That's where you played two sisters. One was thrown.
Oh, Kiss Before Dying.
Yes, and I looked forward to seeing it on TV, and somebody came out with an imitation of that, and I did not like it. I was insulted by it. And
I don't remember the imitation.
It was on Lifetime, I think. That and No Way Out. I've enjoyed your work in those two movies. Briefly in No Way Out, I know you got killed, but I love your work. Just wanted you to know that.
Yeah, that's my best death scene in any film. I am dead when I hit that floor.
You had a stunt double, obviously.
Well, I had one go through the glass, but I did the fall, and no, that was a good movie. That was a real good movie.
Thank you for it.
Thank you.
Did you something in Merchant Ivory?
My very first picture was called Jane Austen in Manhattan. It was a real low budget. It didn't turn out very well because with a lot of low budgets, sometimes you run out of money, or it's not well organized, or you know, there could be a lot of different reasons. But it did not actually turn out very well. But it was the first movie. Robert Powell was in it. He played Jesus of Nazareth by Zeffirelli. He was in it, and Ann Baxter, who was all about Eve. Remember the person who played Eve? She was in the movie. She was about 63 or 4 when I worked with her, and she was the very first person I worked with. And I remember she was sitting doing her makeup, and I've had a long history of having really wretched menstrual cramps. I mean, that's everybody on every set always knows. Oh my God, you know, like, watch out when she has her period. Oh God, you know. So I was sitting there and I was doubled over like this next to Anne, and she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I'm feeling good." She said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, I'm having my period." And she says, "Use it." And I just thought, oh, this is great. What a job. You know, and that's actors for you. We're all out there. We're just, you know, we walk in with all our baggage, and that's what we are. You know, that's who we are. So.
Well, I think pretty much out of time. I just want to say thank you once again.
Want to do photo ops with Shauna? She's actually doing them in like 10 minutes. So make sure you get over there.
Thank you very much.